There is a place, they say, where the sun never sets, a land of eternal twilight, untouched by time, veiled in frost and shrouded in shadow. This is Hyperborea, a realm whispered of in the ancient tongues, an Eden turned to ash, its truths buried beneath the weight of myth and secrecy. The earliest accounts speak of Hyperborea as a paradise, a land beyond the northern winds where the gods themselves would linger. The Greeks claimed it was Apollo's sacred refuge, a place of perpetual spring where mortals lived without pain, their lives unbroken by death's shadow. Yet, even in these tales of wonder, there are threads of unease, hints of a deeper truth. For Hyperborea was more than a utopia, it was a threshold, a liminal space between the mortal world and something far older, far stranger. Few dared to seek it, and those who claimed to have glimpsed its shores returned, changed. The texts of Pythagoras, long hidden and half-burned by time, suggest that the Hyperboreans were not human, but a race apart, ageless and alien, their knowledge vast and their rituals incomprehensible. They spoke in a language that resonated like a song yet stung like a blade, a speech not meant for mortal ears. What remains of Hyperborea's legacy is fragmented, scattered across cultures and epochs, like broken shards of a mirror reflecting a truth too terrible to behold. The Norse sagas speak of a land beyond the ice, where the Jotnar, the giants of old, once roamed. The Celts whispered of the Tuatha Dé Danann, luminous beings said to have vanished into the mists. Even the Inuit tell of shadowy figures who walk the tundra, their voices carried by the wind. All point to Hyperborea as the source, a nexus of forgotten power. But why was this paradise abandoned? The answer lies hidden, its echoes reverberating through history's darkest corners. Some say Hyperborea fell not to war but to hubris, that its people delved too deep into forbidden truths, peeling back the layers of reality and gazing into the void. Others speak of a cataclysm, a celestial event that tore the land from its place in the world, leaving only whispers and shadows. One tale, buried in the scrolls of Alexandria, tells of a priestess who fled the frozen land, her skin pale as moonlight, her eyes burned with visions. She spoke of a hidden temple, buried beneath glacier, its halls carved from stone that predated the earth itself. Within it rested a great machine, a device not of gods or men but something in between, its purpose unfathomable. The Hyperboreans, she claimed, had used this device to manipulate the threads of time, bending reality to their will. But their tampering unleashed something, a force that should have remained locked beyond the stars. As her story spread, strange occurrences began to plague those who listened. Dreams of unending cold, whispers in the dark, a sense of being watched by eyes unseen. It was as though the mere mention of Hyperborea stirred something ancient, something that had waited, dormant, for its name to be spoken. The priestess vanished one night, her chambers empty save for a single scrap of parchment. Written upon it, in a script no scholar could decipher, was a single phrase, "Beware the north, for the frost carries the weight of forgotten gods." In the centuries that followed, the legend of Hyperborea faded into obscurity, yet its shadow lingered, hidden in the margins of forbidden texts and whispered by those brave, or foolish, enough to seek the truth. Explorers who ventured northward often spoke of strange phenomena, compasses spinning widely, auroras that twisted into shapes resembling ancient symbols, and a cold so profound it seemed to pierce the soul. These were dismissed as the ravings of frostbitten minds, until their bodies began to vanish without a trace, leaving only footprints leading into the endless ice. It was not only the explorers who felt the call. In the early 19th century, a secret society known as the Order of the White Flame emerged in Europe, claiming to hold fragments of Hyperborea's ancient knowledge. They believed the Hyperboreans were not merely a race, but the progenitors of all advanced civilizations, their wisdom encoded in the myths of every culture. The pyramids of Egypt, the stone circles of Britain, the glyphs of the Maya, all, they said, bore traces of Hyperborean influence. The Order's research led them to an obscure manuscript, the Frost Codex, said to have been salvaged from a shipwreck near the Arctic Circle. Its pages, brittle and inked with a substance that shimmered like ice under moonlight, described a hidden path to Hyperborea. The instructions were cryptic, riddled with phrases that seemed to defy translation. One line, however, was unmistakable: "The way is opened by the blood of the seeker and closed by the weight of truth." Undeterred, the Order mounted an expedition to the far north. They sought a location described as the Singing Glacier, a place where the wind carried a low, resonant hum, as if the ice itself were alive. Weeks passed, then months. When the expedition finally returned, it was in pieces, for men out of 20, frostbitten and raving. They spoke of finding the glacier, but what lay within defied comprehension. The survivors described a vast cavern beneath the ice, its walls lined with carvings not made by human hands. These carvings depicted a history that was neither linear nor bound by time. They saw worlds rising and falling in an endless cycle, guided or manipulated by shadowy figures with elongated forms and hollow eyes. At the cavern's center stood a massive obelisk, blacker than the void and humming with a sound that seemed to seep into their bones. One man claimed it was a key, another said it was a warning. None could say how long they remained in the cavern, for time seemed to warp, each moment stretching into eternity. Then came the voice. It was not heard, but felt, resonating through their minds like an ancient chord plucked from the strings of reality. It spoke no words, yet conveyed a single, overwhelming truth: they were not meant to be there. The survivors fled, their minds fractured by what they had seen. None lived more than a year after their return. Some succumbed to illness, their bodies riddled with strange lesions that glowed faintly in the dark. Others took their own lives, leaving behind cryptic scrawls about the Watchers in the frost. The order disbanded, its remaining members vowing never to speak of Hyperborea again. But the truth, once uncovered, is not so easily buried. Rumors began to spread of artifacts unearthed in the Arctic, objects that defied scientific explanation, blades that never dulled, crystals that emitted a faint hum, and fragments of metal inscribed with symbols no human hand could replicate. These relics found their way into private collections and secret vaults, their origins carefully concealed. Then, in the early 20th century, whispers emerged of a government operation codenamed Project Borealis. Officially, it was a study of polar ice, but those who dug deeper uncovered unsettling details, encrypted communications referencing the dimensional anomalies, reports of personnel disappearing during expeditions, and strange readings that defied the laws of physics. The most chilling discovery came in 1937, when a remote Arctic outpost intercepted a signal, a series of tones that, when translated into visual form, revealed a spiral of glyphs matching those described in the Frost Codex. The message was clear, though its meaning was not. The path is open. The Watchers stir. The signal from the Arctic outpost was the catalyst for the final unraveling. In the decades that followed, governments, secret societies, and rogue scholars all raced to uncover the secrets of Hyperborea. The more they unearthed, the more fragmented reality seemed to become, as if the mere act of seeking the truth tore at the seams of existence itself. By the late 20th century, rumors of Hyperborea had been buried beneath layers of disinformation, dismissed as conspiracy or myth. Yet, those who knew where to look found a troubling pattern. Reports of strange phenomena near the poles surged, entire research stations engulfed by inexplicable storms, shimmering apparitions on the ice, and the sudden, chilling silence of wildlife as though the land itself held its breath. It was during one such storm in 1982 that Project Borealis reached its dreadful culmination. The expedition, led by Dr. Elias Kane, was tasked with investigating seismic anomalies beneath a remote glacier. What they found was not a natural fault line, but a vast, spiraling structure buried beneath the ice, an impossibly large construct that pulsed faintly with an inner light. As the team descended into the structure, the air itself seemed to hum with anticipation. The walls, made of a material that resisted all analysis, were covered in glyphs that twisted and shifted when observed, as though alive. Deep within the labyrinth, they discovered the heart of the anomaly, a massive chamber dominated by a singular artifact, a monolithic cube that defied reason, appearing both infinite and contained, solid yet translucent. The cube was cold, yet their instruments detected immense heat radiating from its core. Those who approached it described an overwhelming sense of déjà vu, as if they had stood in that exact moment countless times before. And then, as Dr. Kane's hand brushed its surface, the artifact responded. The cube began to vibrate, emitting a low, resonant tone that reverberated through the chamber. Lights, alien and hypnotic, swirled across its surface, forming patterns that no human mind could fully comprehend. The team's equipment failed, their instruments overloaded by the sheer energy emanating from the artifact. And then the visions began. The survivors, if they could still be called that, spoke of what they saw. A vast, frozen wasteland stretched beyond the limits of imagination, its skies fractured and bleeding with light. Towering figures moved within the storm, their forms shifting between solidity and shadow, their faces obscured by the weight of eternity. These were the Watchers, the Guardians, or prisoners of Hyperborea, bound to the land they had created and destroyed. The visions revealed the truth: Hyperborea was no paradise. It was a prison, a vault designed to contain not only the Watchers but the knowledge they wielded. The Hyperboreans had not vanished, they had ascended, their mortal forms dissolved into the very fabric of the land. But in their final act of hubris, they had left a key behind, a way to unlock their forbidden realm. The artifact was that key. And by activating it, Cain and his team had torn the veil. The storm that followed engulfed the entire glacier, erasing all traces of the expedition. The few survivors who escaped described the ice itself rising, twisting into impossible shapes, as though reality was folding in on itself. They spoke of the Watchers stepping through the rift, their hollow eyes scanning the mortal world, and then silence. The artifact was never recovered. Its energy signature vanished, leaving only a dead zone where no instrument could function. In the years that followed, Hyperborea became a ghost story once more, its truths buried beneath layers of denial and fear. Yet, those who have heard the whispers know the truth: the Watchers are here. They walk among us, unseen but felt, their presence lingering in the cold winds and the shadows that stretch too far. And somewhere, beneath the ice, the remnants of Hyperborea stir. The prison is weakening, the locks undone. The Watchers in the frost are no longer bound, and their gaze is fixed upon the world. The question is not if they will return, but when. And when they do, the weight of their forgotten gods will fall upon us all.